So this title, Once and Future, this was really an unexpected gem for me. I went to the comic book shop knowing absolutely nothing about it, and the premise was very surprising. It was good, and I guess kind of think about a modern archaeologist getting pulled into a magical underworld of Arthurian legend. Cool story. But it unfolds in a very unexpected way. To say it simply, I like the storytelling a lot, and this comic may not be my style 100%, but it certainly scores high. And the creative team is absolutely on point. So, Kieron Gillen is writing this book, and he's written so much. Star Wars, Avengers, and X-Men. Die is his number one series right now through Image. The Wicked and Divine, of course, tons more. Great writer, and apparently his series Die is absolutely incredible. I haven't gotten it yet, but I plan on picking up that first trade in the next coming weeks. So, art by Dan Mora. Here's the thing, I have not seen his work before. He has drawn Claws, Hexed, and Power Rangers. I can't wait to see more of this guy because that is what I love about this book so much. And on colors, you have Tamara Bonvillain. Her color palettes are bright and expressive. I like her style for an indie comic. She did Wayward and Rat Queens, and her stuff is really bright and pastel. And I can't say that it's my favorite style, but for this indie book, it comes off as really bold, honestly. So, she's actually best known for telling conservatives not to buy her stuff on social media. For real, it's pretty wild, but this overall, it was a great read. Like I said, I'm not really sure if I'm going to stay with the series, but this issue really starts well. So the first few pages, they show us an archaeological dig with, expensive artifacts being stolen by men with identical cult-like insignias on their jackets. And when they're asked what they want, they say they want England back. So again, a dark start with a murder, someone stealing an artifact, and that's where you get this segue. These credits, again, to the creative team. Oh, looks like I left out Letters by Ed Dukeshire. Totally cool. So usually, I want to stop for a quick second. Usually I like a book this much because the writing is really, really good. And while I do feel that way about this book, for Once and Future, the thing I like the most about this book is the art by Dan Mora. I'm certainly no artist, but I know what I like, and this really fits the bill. I think about art, and sometimes I feel like maybe I don't have the proper vocabulary to understand how to convey exactly what I mean when I say how awesome an art style is. But damn, I'm telling you, this really is my style. As much as the color palettes really aren't my style, and some of the twists and turns in the writing, some of the dialogue isn't my style either, it's a fantastic read overall. Like I said, that's probably my favorite pick for the week. So I like this, and it's an element of good storytelling. So I want you to think about this. At the end of that first scene, we didn't find out who those guys were or what they actually have planned. It left us with questions. So as the next scene opens, we see an elderly woman, and she's in a group home, and she hears about the murder at the archaeology site and the stealing of a 6th century scabbard. She says, bugger. Well, because they're in England, of course, but the scene ends with her going to have a smoke outside. You don't know what's going to happen from there. A few more questions arise. That's great storytelling. Answer a question, show something happening, show action occurring, and then present more questions to your audience. So think about this. Each of these first two scenes, were 3 pages in length. That's it. In this book, having drama quality writing, it's paced slower than, say, a superhero book. And that's just natural, of course, because of the kind of story this is. And so As far as structure, it works great. Having each scene be short, concise, 3 pages is actually perfect for a book like this, starting a story and keeping it moving in the very beginning. Again, expanding deeper and creating, larger scenes from that point is always good, specifically when you get deeper into the story, like we'll see at the halfway mark, generally speaking. So this next scene opens, the third scene, and the main character, Duncan McGuire, real talk on the down low. He's a redhead. I'm showing this picture here. I hope they don't delete him for the film adaptation. All joking aside, he's just throwing wine on his date, like all over her. And yeah, that's something I would do. And yeah, I would also answer my phone on a date too. So we find out that it's his grandma calling him, and that's where we get that connection here. It's part of the halfway mark of this book. It's where that biggest plot point reveal comes up, and that's the perfect place to put it. Again, where the big thread comes together at this center mark of the book, we see that the woman in the elderly home, she Ubered out of there to go find buried weapons. And she called her grandson, who is the guy on the date, Duncan, and she's dragged him with her into whatever weird thing she has going on here. And we start to begin to see the plot unraveling more, and you're left with more questions. That's absolutely fantastic storytelling. We want to ask questions all the way through a book, incite questions in your reader. And so this book does a great job of doing this, answering a question, and then raising another question as soon as those questions are answered. And seriously, what better way to captivate the audience? It almost feels like miniature cliffhangers all through the books, where things are revealed in this fluid and natural way of storytelling, right? In fact, I just a couple weeks ago, maybe a week and a half, I read the very first issue of A Bolivian Song #1 by Image. And so that was by the writer of The Walking Dead. Fantastic series from what I hear. I haven't read it yet. But that book, Oblivion Song, it does a great job at doing this same thing, this great storytelling technique by revealing the plot in small amounts to keep the eyes glued on it, to keep the attention of your reader. So continuing on with this book, again, you get a huge monster fight with the main character, and he's thrown into this world. This is the very first plot point since, the monster attacked them. His grandma reveals that she's a vampire hunter. She pulls a gun on him, and she forces him to start driving. Apparently, all of the ancient myths of King Arthur, Merlin, and magic are all real, and she's been lying to him his whole life. Well, now she's pulled a damn gun on him. So, a little bit of subverting expectations, but not a ton. And this is the kind of subverted expectations that are actually really fun. In normal life, would you actually see a grandma pulling a gun on her grandson and, forcing him to go on a archaeology retrieval with you, with magical weapons? Probably not. But, in the context of this book, it absolutely works. Again, I think that this storytelling is just a great example of how to reveal your plot points one by one in an organic and a good way. I'm like I said, I'm not great at analyzing art myself, but the art, it's my favorite part about this book. That is something that I want to touch on, learn about what contoured lines mean, verbiage like that. I think that'd be great. The best thing that I can draw is actually a stick figure. So where I'm at right now, not really great at analyzing art. So look, I'm certainly going to at least leave the cliffhanger and the plot twist at the very end up to you to read. I'm not going to give away the very last portion of this book, but I'm going to say simply how much I liked it. Again, I'm far from a shill. This is a great book. This is better than, 95% of what Marvel's putting out right now. Again, Pick this up if you like Arthurian magic legends. Kieron Gillen, Dan Mora, and Tamara Villain. For Once and Future, this is #1 by Boom. I love this book. Again, it's probably my favorite release this week. I'd love to hear what y'all think, though. Leave a comment below, and feel free to call me a numbskull or tell me that you like this book as well. I'm changing my format just a little bit. I'm trying to do a little bit more editing, to make my videos a little bit more aesthetically pleasing, instead of just holding a book in front of the camera and, going through it piece by piece. I think this is a lot better, but I won't always have time for this, so you can actually expect me to do some physical reviews where I'm holding the book. Of course, if I'm down to the wire and I don't have time, that's exactly what I'm going to have to do. Like I say, it's really good to have you watching my videos. I'd love to have you for all of them. Subscribe to my channel if you like my content. Hey, come back for my next video. And like I always say, you're the gateway into comics.